What's going on, everybody? LK here, back at it again with another video, and today some more Dragon Ball FighterZ for y'all. I've been getting asked about this quite a lot. I've talked about in other videos a bit too, how I feel about Snap, why I feel the way I do about Snap, so I figured I would make this video and just clear everything up, my mindset, why I think about it the way I think about it. Hopefully it makes sense to y'all. Again, if you like any of the content I'm putting out, please click like or subscribe. You don't have to, but it does actually help the channel. I really do appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Before I actually talk about Snap, I would have to talk about Dragon Ball FighterZ since the game came out. So you might notice some of these characters. I got 16, I got Bardock, I got Piccolo, I got Adult Gohan. I'm gonna start with Season 1. The first really strong tactic in Season 1 was relying on meterless hard knockdown. So before there were characters who had either hard knockdown for no meter, so this used to actually be a hard knockdown, or Adult Gohan also had a hard knockdown that wasn't a level 3. This is right when the game dropped. Really quickly, people learned how to use the knockdown system. As you know, in Dragon Ball, you have the slide knockdown, which is really good, but you can dice roll it. You can vary your options. You can tech in the air. You can't do that in any other fighting game, going from the ground to the air like that. You have a delayed wake up that's variable. That's 30 frames variable. You can get up in place. And then on top of that, you have reflect to worry about. You have reflect tag to worry about. There's a lot of things that you have to worry about. Because of this, a lot of people were playing Android 16 and Adult Gohan. Android 16, you knock them down with this, you get a mix-up right away. It was very strong, and you could just do it. Same with Adult Gohan. Now, they took this away pretty quickly. Around like May or so of the first year Dragon Ball FighterZ, they had a balance patch, and they definitely took this away. This was very, very uncommon at that time. So the focus then, and at EVO, became using level 3s to get hard knockdowns into mix-ups. And at this time, there were a few characters who could do mix-ups off level 3 without needing assists. Very important. So Android 16 actually ended up enduring. So I played Android 16 at this time, and a lot of people dropped him for a little bit after the patch. Like, oh no, he doesn't have his meters knocked down, he's not good anymore. They changed his 5 heavy, they changed a bunch of stuff. But I was like, oh, he's still pretty good. He still gets a lot of meter. I'm using him as an anchor, so he always comes in with 3 bars, so like I could do it. And over time, people are like, oh yeah, he can actually do it. This is when Bardock starts joining the game, and you start seeing Gotenks a little bit, you start seeing Kazunoko, Yamcha. So what all these characters have in common is that when they hit you with level 3 at this time, they could do a mix-up alone without assists. And this is pretty important for their solo functionality, comeback factor, stuff like that. Why so much emphasis on the hard knockdown too? Because there's no way to change the getup. So if you're coming from another fighting game, and a lot of the best Dragon Ball FighterZ players are from other games. There are a couple people who are exclusively Dragon Ball FighterZ players. They do exist. But the majority of the top and world-class Dragon Ball FighterZ players are all from other fighting games. So having a situation that they know how to build around from other fighting games is not only comfortable, but also strong. In the case where like Dragon Ball, there's always, or almost always, some way you can at least try to challenge or slip out of these situations. Being able to like, say, combo into this, and then going high-low on one side or crossing you up to deal with the reflect on the other side is really, really strong, and it does a lot of damage. When you have a level 3 that you can do mix-ups off of alone, generally the only thing the defender can do is usually like reflect or spark, as opposed to all the other options. So that's why it always is the goal. One of the main problems you're trying to solve is the knockdown, right? Because even though slide knockdown is good, it's kind of not good enough. So for a while, this level 3 thing is the way. This is also one of the main reasons why I played Ginyu for so long, because Ginyu is actually good against sliding knockdowns. So after the first Dragon Ball FighterZ EVO tournament, they patched the game again, and they let this patch rock for a little while, but this is basically where we start going into the Gotenks, Adult Gohan, Yamcha team. And in my opinion, I think this team pretty much solved Dragon Ball FighterZ the first year. This team does everything that's important to do in Dragon Ball FighterZ, not only at that time, but like even now. Like as the core tenets that you need in a really good tournament team, which is good anti-air, good offense, good way of solving this knockdown problem as well. So if you guys forgot, it was a lot of Super Dash, Call Gohan, get offense with Yamcha with auto combo. You couldn't guard cancel anything because this team had a lot of special rules around guard canceling. And of course, you had this. So it kind of had everything. The team did actually have good snaps. It had a really good way of knocking down and controlling the situation with the ghost, so you didn't need assist for that. Really good neutral, really good and simple and hard to deal with neutral. Gotenks neutral, of course, was very strong too. The huge comeback factor, there was DP assist, there's all this stuff that was super, super good on this team. This team solved a ton of problems with Dragon Ball FighterZ, the game that usually is pretty hard to solve. Now, one thing that happened at the end of the year though, and I actually used this too, is that people started snapping more, right? So Gotenks could use snap very well. Inakil was a very, very good player who was doing this. JP players weren't doing this so much. I don't really know what EU was doing at the time. But Piccolo started showing up and people started saying, hey, isn't Piccolo actually like a really, really, really good character? And one of the reasons was because of this. He could bring you in, do Hell Zone, right? You don't need an assist for Hell Zone, mix you up, and then repeat the situation. And he usually builds the meter back from it, and he could like swap another character in over and over and over. Now, this is what we all call the snap loop. So at this time, it was pretty good. It actually was technically better than Season 2. The main issue was that he wasn't good at killing you quickly. This is going to be a really important point I go into later. So you actually have to loop them, like you have to hit them multiple times, like 4 or 5 times to kill a character that you were trying to target. There were people who were successful with this style of team, but it didn't make a huge wave at the time. But this is where people started using the term snap meta. So again, Piccolo's making waves as a point, but not really like shaking up tournaments that much. There's only a couple of examples of really strong tournament Piccolo players, as opposed to like how many people are playing Adult Gohan, Gotenks, and Yamcha together and stuff like that. We move into Season 2. In Season 2, they add sharper meter cooldowns. So in the short term, the Piccolo Hellzone snap loop was nerfed. And after a while, people are just messing around with new teams, kind of like right now, until we get to GT. So GT was actually the thing that really shook up the game first in Season 2. So GT, remember, he has everything we need that we love. He has the beam that goes up that helps deal with people who jump too much and jump lazily. He has my favorite move in the game, Spirit Bomb. And you remember in Season 1, there were the characters who could do level 3 into mix-ups by themselves. GT had that. That was great. He had the good offense, he had the good pressure, and over time, people discovered too, he had the good snap as well. And I actually feel like he's kind of the reason why snap got back into the focus. So while Piccolo was still like developing tech with his snaps and getting new snap stuff back, he always has the main issue of you have to spend a lot of additional resource if you want to kill quickly. GT, it sort of depends on your team. And this brings me to talk about snap meta specifically, right? So one is actually not the term you should use, because snap meta implies that that's what's winning everything, and it's not really. Like the main things that won in Season 2 were double beam teams, so like GT and SJ Goku, also Bardock, like the traditional top tier, so Bardock, and then eventually we moved to Universal Fuzzy as a tactic. But there was no team that won big events really specifically because they were using just that alone. It was usually like a combination of tactics on a team and not just specifically that. For example, my Season 2 team at the end that we used for World Tour Finals was a team that focused on using snap and the universal instant overhead to convert into Spirit Bomb to win games, right? That is a really, really, really focused goal. But other like World Tournament teams, like it would be like something like Goichi's team. So Goichi's team, Bardock, GT, SSJ. It has GT really important. It uses that tactic, but it doesn't like rely totally on that to win. Also, like people like Wawa, like yeah, he can do it, but it's not the main reason why he's winning games. The Kill Sage, yeah, he can do it, but it's not the main reason why they're winning games. The Kill Stage is playing, of course, Team Gohan, Broly, SSJ Goku. That team only has one character that really heavily does it. It's a Team Gohan. It's a thing that exists, just like Season 1. It's a thing that exists, but it's not the main thing that's like closing events. So what is actually good about this? So why do I like it so much? It's the same as Season 1, like level 3, but I feel like it's actually gives a fair trade-off compared to doing a level 3. So why do I say that? Because when you hit somebody, the logic is that Dragon Ball is a 2-touch game. Dragon Ball is a 2-touch game. Your goal is to kill them in 2 touches. It's rare that you hit them once and they die, like straight up. You have to usually use sparking or something like that. And if you hit them more than 2 times to kill, it's either because you're not optimized for some reason, you're not getting good hits, or you're letting them tag a lot. With Snap, the trade-off is you add an extra hit. So if I hit Piccolo and I snap in 16, I hit Piccolo, but now I have to hit 16 twice. So it took me 3 hits to kill a character as opposed to 2. So I get like good offense, and if you structure your offense, really good offense, but at the trade-off of having to hit you more times. On top of that, it's only at like the world class level where people actually optimize for the situation. I've said this before, but my goal was to hit you, snap you, hit your incoming character, and then because of Team Gohan's meter gain, it is pretty much guaranteed if I hit you again that you're going to die. Most people didn't have this, and they did like the loop thing where they tried to build a lot of meter and then dump it all on one character. That's fine. So I get why that's annoying, obviously, because you're just kind of sitting there. You're like, man, this guy just mixed me up over and over. But they're really just giving you extra chances and resources and stuff. So this type of situation is pretty common, and I used to make this mistake a lot too. A ton of people would do this. A ton of people would do this. Let's say I don't like Piccolo. I really dislike Piccolo. He needs to go. When I see someone have Piccolo on their team, they gotta go. So I hit them. I bring in Piccolo. The Piccolo player comes in, they go, man, I'm about to get mixed. I need a spark. Now I have to play against super powerful Piccolo. Maybe I baited it, maybe I didn't. They added the guard cancel sparking in Season 2, so it's much harder to bait sparking. Piccolo comes in, scramble happens, he hits me, now I'm getting snapped by Piccolo. People used to snap in my GT because they're thinking, man, I hate GT, GT makes it so I can't do all this stuff, I'm gonna snap in GT and mix him to death. I'm like, LOL, I'm going to spark with GT, now I have super powerful GT, if I hit you, I'm gaining beater, I'm gonna Spirit Bomb you, now you're dying or you have to spark me back, right? You have to actually optimize so that they die quickly, so that as soon as you bring them in, no matter who you bring in, they're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to die. And the long-term, truly high-level play was to snap in the weakest sparking character, because then they won't absolutely kill you with sparking, and then you can run your actual game plan later. So on my old team, the character that you'd actually want to snap in is SSJ Goku, because he's the weakest character in sparking on my team. The thing that kind of put everything together was that you could build this situation. You had to optimize it though. It adds extra hits, and you're giving them resources. They are locked out, but the trade-off is supposed to be that you're technically letting them live longer. It's not like an obvious thing. When you're on the receiving end, you're just like, man, I'm getting mixed, this sucks. Man, I'm getting mixed, this sucks. What are you supposed to do to get out of this? Spark or avoid the situation. It's a rough situation. I know people don't like hearing avoid the situation. They'd rather the game do something for you. That's what they did in Season 3. That's why I was so upset about it. But over time, we'll solve this problem too, I think. Okay, so hopefully that made sense. I think I explained myself pretty clearly. I've talked about this before a couple of times about the like having to hit people more often, and because of Snap, of course, and how I feel about the knockdowns in this game, and why I like using tactics like that to kind of just make the game make sense for me. Dragon Ball has a lot of problems to solve, and the knockdown one is a pretty big one. Right now, I feel like it's kind of early season 2, so I think eventually someone's gonna find some other way of replicating this type of offense that we've seen in season 1 and season 2. I do know of a couple characters that have strong snaps right now, but it seems like we're leaning more of a fusion of season 1 and season. That's kind of why I felt like this is season 2.5 a little bit. It feels like we're using season 1 stuff, or trying to use season 1 stuff right now. But we'll see long term. It's hard to tell because there's no big events, so we can't be like, oh, this is what's winning right now. Like, oh, Bardock GT is winning right now, or Gotenks and Dokuhan Yamcha is winning right now because they're doing this. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in comments. Again, like and subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.